The entire global economy, the prices you pay at the pump, the energy that keeps cities running across the world, mostly depends on what happens in one tiny, cramped corner of the ocean. We're talking about a massive energy lifeline. Every single day, about 21% of the world's total oil consumption flows through a single gateway. Now, zoom in a little closer. This isn't some vast, open sea. We are talking about the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow corridor sitting right between Iran and Oman, linking the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the wider Arabian Sea. At its tightest point, the distance from one shore to the other is only 33 kilometers. That is a tiny gap to be holding the keys to the world's bank account. On one hand, it's a high-stakes choke point, a global geopolitical time bomb where one wrong move could send shockwaves through energy markets and flip the world upside down. You've got giant oil tankers, some of the biggest machines ever built, squeezed into shipping lanes that are only 3 kilometers wide, surrounded by naval mines and missile batteries. If you look past the warships and the radar screens, Hormuz is actually beautiful. It's a place where you'll find beaches with bright red sand that looks like ink running into the waves, and ancient cultures that have been around way longer than the modern oil trade. So why is this small strip of water both a harness for global power and a hidden museum of nature? Blue waters and white sands have become familiar to travel enthusiasts, but have you ever seen a beach with a vibrant red color like blood? Countless people believe that an apocalyptic event is approaching, fearing that this beach is stained with the color of blood as a sign of something about to happen. In reality, the cause of this distinctive red color is the high iron oxide content in the soil. The dark earth and sand turn the waves a reddish-brown hue, making them appear more intense than those in other coastal areas. This substance ensures that the soil of Hormuz Island is not only visually stunning, but also holds high economic value. However, as this resource becomes increasingly depleted, exports have been restricted. Red iron oxide is valuable not only in industry, used to produce cosmetics, fabrics, ceramics, and food coloring, but is also used by locals as an everyday spice. If you swim at Hormuz Island, the signature red color may linger on your skin for several days. Hormuz is also known as Rainbow Island because while walking or cycling to take in the scenery, you will see the colors of the surrounding soil constantly shifting, as they contain up to 70 different minerals. The weather on the island during the fall and winter is very mild and pleasant, However, summer temperatures on the island can reach up to 45 degrees Celsius with 95% humidity. Keshem Island. Keshem is the largest island in the Persian Gulf, with an area of approximately 1,500 square kilometers and a length of over 130 kilometers. The island is located just a few kilometers off the coast of Iran and sits right within the Strait of Hormuz. Beyond its important strategic location, Keshem is also a tourist paradise. According to the latest figures, the island's population is estimated at about 150,000 people, who primarily make a living through fishing, maritime trade, and ecotourism. Although Keshem has never truly matched the luxury of Dubai, this ideal destination, with its crystal-clear waters, continues to attract the Iranian middle class despite the economic crisis. Much of the terrain on Keshem Island is dominated by the region's unique geological formations. Chaku Canyon. When you step into Chaku Canyon, it feels like the island just decided to split open. You're walking between these massive vertical walls that shoot up toward the sky, some reaching over 100 feet high. It's not just a pretty sight, it's a natural fortress. Local legends say the name Chaku means four wells, and you can still see the ancient holes carved into the ground to catch rainwater. The wind has spent millions of years carving holes and weird wavy patterns into the limestone, making the walls look like they're made of melted wax. In the narrowest parts, you can reach out and touch both sides at once, feeling the cool, silent rock while the desert heat blazes above. It's easy to see why this place was a perfect strategic hideout. If you were standing in these rifts, an entire army could walk right past the entrance and never know you were there. It's nature's own version of a high-security bunker, built way before humans even understood what a border was. Local folks have a pretty wild story about Stars Valley. They say that a long time ago, a star literally fell out of the sky and smashed into the island, throwing earth everywhere and leaving behind these bizarre, towering pillars. Geologists will tell you it's just the result of a few million years of wind and rain erosion. But when you're standing there among the jagged spires and weirdly shaped arches, the star story feels a lot more believable. When the wind kicks up, it whistles through the cracks in the stone, creating these eerie, ghostly sounds that have kept people away at night for centuries. Some locals still think jinn, or spirits, hang out here after the sun goes down. The rock is so soft that you can see how every storm reshapes the landscape, meaning if you visited 10 years ago, the valley probably looks different today. It's like a living, breathing sculpture gallery where the earth is constantly carving new giants to watch over the coast. Deep inside the southern part of the island lies the Namakdan Salt Cave, and it is a beast. This isn't just some little hole in the ground, it's actually the longest salt cave on the planet, stretching for over 6 kilometers. Walking into a mountain and finding a world made entirely of salt. The walls are marbled with layers of red, purple, and white, looking like someone spray-painted the insides of the earth. The further you go, the crazier it gets. You'll find long, white salt icicles hanging from the ceiling, and salt rivers that look like frozen waterfalls. The air is incredibly pure. Some people even come here just to breathe, because the salt is supposed to be great for your lungs. It's a total sensory reset. While the world outside is obsessing over oil prices and shipping lanes, Namakdan is a dark, shimmering maze of absolute peace. It's taken thousands of years for the salt to push its way up through the crust, creating a sparkling underground kingdom that doesn't care about the politics of the water above it. High up on a vertical cliff facing the sea, you'll see a row of dark openings. A literal maze in the sky that has been used for protection for over 2,500 years. Part of this cave system was made by nature, but the rest was carved out by human hands. Back when pirates used to roam the Strait of Hormuz, the villagers would climb up here to hide. Inside, it's a complicated network of tunnels and small rooms. You can imagine mothers shushing their children in the dark while pirate ships sailed past below. There are carvings on the walls that show how many different cultures have used this place as a sanctuary. Looking out from one of the tiny windows, you get a perfect view of the water. This was the ultimate lookout post for a community that had to be ready for trouble at any moment. But the people of Keshem weren't just hiding from the sea. They were busy building the very things that allowed them to conquer it. At the Lenge shipyard, you'll see massive wooden boats, some over 30 meters long, rising out of the sand like beached whales. These are lenges, and the way they are built is a UNESCO-recognized miracle. The craftsmen here don't use blueprints. They don't use computers. Everything is done from memory and passed down from father to son over 1,000 years. They use heavy teak wood brought in from India and Burma, and they shape every curve with simple tools like saws and hammers. The sound of wood on wood is constant, a rhythmic thump, thump, thump that has been the heartbeat of this island for centuries.
I don't know how he keeps his balance.
These wooden giants are so tough, they can sail all the way to East Africa and stay in the water for 100 years. Even in a world of steel and missiles, a wooden boat and a determined sailor can still rule the waves of Hormuz. Right next to the red beach is the silver beach. This beach is called Silver Beach because the sand here isn't the usual yellow or white, but black and gray, mixed with countless sparkling mineral particles. These sparkling particles are actually fragments of mica and silica minerals that have been crushed over millions of years. When sunlight shines on them, these mineral particles reflect light, creating an effect similar to millions of tiny diamonds or silver fragments scattered across the shoreline. Because the island is so incredibly rich in iron oxide, the waves that crash against that silver sand are stained a deep rust red. One of the most enjoyable experiences here is walking barefoot on the sand. These silver mineral particles are tiny and highly adhesive. After your walk, your feet and body will be covered in a layer of naturally shimmering glitter that is difficult to wash off immediately, making you look like you've just been sprinkled with glitter. Imagine stepping onto a planet where the ground looks like a giant spilled paint box, and get this, you can actually eat the dirt. Rainbow Valley, a place so trippy it feels like you've been teleported straight to Mars. This isn't some human-made art project. It's a natural salt dome built over millions of years. You'll see dozens of shades like deep red from iron oxide, bright yellow from sulfur, and patches of purple and white. The coolest fact? That red soil, known as gelac, is totally edible. It's probably the only place on Earth where you can literally taste a mountain. During festivals, artists even use this colorful sand to paint massive, intricate carpets right on the ground. Because this is the geological capital of the world, the scenery shifts every hour as the sunlight hits the minerals. Most importantly, as tempting as it is, do not take any sand home in your pockets. We've got to keep this masterpiece exactly where it belongs, so it stays a one-of-a-kind wonder for everyone else. If Rainbow Valley is likened to a giant box of colors, then the Valley of Statues is considered a surreal, sculptural exhibition of nature. As its name suggests, this valley is filled with strangely shaped rock formations that resemble statues. The amazing thing is that there is no human intervention. All are the result of weathering and erosion by wind and water over millions of years. As you walk among the rocks, depending on your perspective, you will see the image of a dragon stretching out, an eagle crouching, the wrinkled face of an old man, or other mythical creatures. Each step reveals a new shape, making you feel as if you are lost in a mythical world. After navigating through the statues, you will suddenly find yourself before a sheer cliff about 25 to 30 meters high. From here, you can gaze out at the panoramic view of the azure Persian Gulf. The contrast between the gray and brown rocks and the deep blue of the sea creates an incredibly breathtaking scene. On windy days, the wind whistles through the crevices and strangely shaped caves, creating howling or murmuring sounds. Locals often say the valley seems to be whispering or singing, adding to the mysterious and somewhat eerie atmosphere of the place. One of the most striking remnants of the Portuguese Empire during its dominance of maritime trade routes, the Portuguese fort has stood on the northern edge of the island for over 500 years. The fort was constructed using local coral stone combined with special mortars, creating thick, sturdy reddish-brown walls. The architectural style reflects the European military style of the time, yet utilizes materials from the Gulf region, resulting in a striking combination. One of the most impressive features inside the fort is an ancient church. To avoid the scorching heat of the island, the Portuguese built this church below ground level. It features intricate arched vaults and Gothic-style stone columns, creating a sacred and cool space. Even today, we can still see bronze and iron cannons, rusted by time, scattered throughout the grounds and facing the sea. They were once a fearsome weapon for controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Because Hormuz Island lacked abundant natural freshwater sources, the Portuguese designed a massive system of cisterns inside the fortress to collect rainwater. This was a vital element in helping their army withstand prolonged sieges. Salt Goddess. Have you ever stepped inside a giant, sparkling, and actually breathing diamond? That's exactly what it feels like to visit the Salt Goddess Cave on Hormuz Island. Hidden within a massive salt dome formed over millions of years, it's truly one of the strangest places on Earth. The cave's most striking feature is its absolute silence. The dense salt walls are incredibly effective at absorbing sound, eliminating all echoes. As you venture deeper inside, you'll feel as if the outside world has been disconnected, leaving only the sound of your own heartbeat and breath. Unlike typical limestone caves, this one is formed entirely of salt. You'll find thousands of stalactites and stalagmites made of pristine, white salt crystals, sharp as blades or shimmering like crystal chandeliers hanging from the cave ceiling. Locals call this the Salt Goddess Cave because they believe the salt here has purifying and healing energy. The air inside the cave is extremely pure and rich in negative ions due to the high concentration of salt, which is very beneficial for people with respiratory illnesses. It is considered a natural spa in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. West Salt Cave. Unlike the predominantly white color of the Goddess Cave, the Western Salt Cave is a blend of many colors. Due to the presence of various minerals, the salt layers here can range from deep red, burnt orange, to purple and ash gray. Leaving behind the enchanting salt caves of Hormuz Island, let's visit the ancient city of Laft on Kesham Island. This is one of the oldest and most distinctive villages in the Persian Gulf, where time seems to have stood still for centuries. The most striking feature of Laft is the towering forest of spires perched on the rooftops. These are known as badgirs, wind-catching towers. In the harsh heat of the Gulf, the ancient inhabitants developed this system to catch cool sea breezes, channeling them into their homes and cooling their living spaces. Laft has the highest density of spires in Iran, creating a unique skyline. Located on a hill just behind the village are the ruins of Naderi Fortress. From here, you can admire the entire beauty of Laft, the warm brown mud brick houses, the towering spires, and in the distance, the lenge boats anchored on the deep blue sea. Right next to Naderi Fortress is an incredibly ingenious water storage system called the Tala Wells. The ancients dug 366 wells, corresponding to the number of days in a leap year. Each day, the villagers would only open one well to draw water, ensuring that the precious freshwater supply was used in rotation and never ran dry throughout the dry year. Currently, about 100 wells remain. Women in Laft have the custom of wearing masks called borge. These masks are not for strict religious reasons, but were originally used to protect the face from the scorching sun and sandstorms. They often resemble a fake mustache to deceive ancient invaders into thinking that women were also warriors, and they are often brightly colored and intricately embroidered. Located between Kesham Island and mainland Iran, the Hara forest is likened to a magical green jewel rising from the salty waters of the Persian Gulf. It's not just an ordinary forest, but an ecological wonder recognized by UNESCO as a World Biosphere Reserve. Twice a day, the forest performs a magic trick. When the tide rises, the rising seawater obscures the tree trunks, making the entire forest appear to float on the water's surface. When the tide recedes, the water reveals a tangled, bizarre root system deeply embedded in the salty mud. Visitors can only explore the forest by boat, navigating through the small channels. The dominant tree species here is Avicennia marina. Remarkably, this tree has the ability to drink seawater directly. Its bark acts as a super filter, retaining salt and allowing only fresh water to enter. Excess salt is then excreted by the tree through its leaf surface. Thanks to this mechanism, the Hara forest remains lush green year-round, even when its roots are submerged in extremely saline water. The scientific name of this tree is derived from Avicenna ibn Sina, the legendary Persian philosopher and physician. Local people call it Hara, a source of great pride, as the name of a great scholar is associated with a magnificent natural entity. Covering approximately 8,000 hectares, the Hara forest is an ideal stopover for thousands of migratory birds traveling south from the north in winter. You can spot flocks of majestic flamingos, egrets, pelicans, and even rare falcons. Beneath the surface lies a vast nursery for fish, shrimp, and sea turtles. The people of Keshem Island have long used Hara leaves as a nutritious feed for livestock. However, harvesting is strictly controlled to avoid damaging this fragile ecosystem. Located at the far northern tip of the Musandam Peninsula in Oman, the village of Kumzar is one of the most isolated and unique places in the world. This village is like an oasis, nestled between towering limestone cliffs and the strategic Strait of Hormuz. The only way to reach Kumzar is by boat or helicopter. There are no roads through the rugged mountain ranges leading to it. This isolation has helped Kumzar preserve its most pristine cultural features for hundreds of years. The people here don't just speak Arabic, they have their own language called Kumzari, a strange blend of at least 10 different languages. This language is a testament to the history of the Gulf region, where sailors and merchants from all over the world stopped and left their mark on the village's speech. In summer, the heat in Kumzar becomes extremely harsh because the village is nestled between cliffs that trap heat. Traditionally, for about 3 months each year, usually from June to September, almost the entire village closes its doors and migrates by boat to the city of Kasab to harvest dates and escape the heat. When autumn arrives, they all return together to their coastal kingdom. Kumzar is located right on the Strait of Hormuz. From the village's shoreline, you can see giant oil tankers passing by like mobile buildings on the sea. With a history of over 700 years, the lives of the Kumzar people are entirely intertwined with the sea. They are master fishermen. Because flat land is very limited, the houses in the village are built very close together, creating extremely narrow and cozy alleyways. Hengam is a tiny island in the Persian Gulf. It is located close to Keshem Island. The island has only 2 small villages and almost no cars, which makes it particularly peaceful. Locals from Hengam have always been living from fishing and aquaculture, and nowadays some from tourism. With crystal clear waters and virgin sandy beaches, the island's coast is a paradise for those who want to enjoy the beauty the sea offers. Hengam is most famous for its wild dolphin pods. Unlike other places where you have to wait for luck, here, just a short boat ride from the pier, you're almost guaranteed to encounter dozens of dolphins swimming and dancing right next to your boat. They are very friendly and seem to thoroughly enjoy the interaction. The beauty of Hengam resides in the fact that it has remained widely untouched, even though things are changing at a fast pace. However, until now, most parts of the island are inhabited, leaving plenty of space for the fauna and flora to flourish. Besides dolphins, Hengam has a rich wildlife. Hengam is home to the Jabir antelope, a small, extremely agile species, and the rare hawksbill turtle. You can easily spot these animals running and jumping on the island's arid, rocky slopes. As you enter into the transparent waters of Hengam, you can also see myriads of colorful fishes, which makes it a heaven for snorkeling passionate. At night, it's sometimes possible to see phytoplankton illuminating Hengam's shores, as there is little light pollution on the island. In Arabic, Jebel Harim means Mountain of the Women. This name originates from a time when local tribes faced invasions from Portuguese colonists or pirates. When the men went out fishing, the women would climb to the summit of this mountain to seek refuge and avoid being abducted. The peak served as a natural fortress, protecting them. At approximately 2,087 meters above sea level, it is the highest peak in Musandam. From here, you can enjoy panoramic views of the magnificent fjords, limestone valleys, and even the Strait of Hormuz in the distance. Even at an altitude of over 2,000 meters, you can easily find fossils of fish, coral, and shells clearly etched into the rock formations. This proves that millions of years ago, this entire colossal mountain was actually the bottom of an ancient ocean before tectonic plates pushed it up into the blue sky. The landscape at Jebel Harim is arid but incredibly breathtaking, with sheer cliffs and winding roads clinging to the edge of the precipice. Many liken it to a Middle Eastern version of the Grand Canyon. While the coastal area of Khasab can be scorching hot, the air at the summit of Jebel Harim is always cool and breezy. In winter, temperatures sometimes drop very low, and frost or even light snow may appear, an extremely rare phenomenon in this desert region. Ever heard the phrase, going round the bend? Well, it actually started on a tiny sun-scorched rock called Telegraph Island in Oman's Musandam Fjords. Back in 1864, the British built a telegraph station here to connect London to India. It was a massive deal for global communication, but for the guys stationed there, it was a total nightmare. There was no air conditioning, no internet, and absolutely nothing to do. The isolation and the brutal heat were so intense that the soldiers literally started losing their minds. Since the island is tucked away round the bend of the long fjords, that's where the saying comes from. The station only lasted about 5 years before they abandoned it, and today all that's left are some crumbling stone ruins. Now, it's one of the best spots for a dhow cruise. The water is crystal clear and filled with colorful coral and tons of fish. Picture a giant stone fortress sitting right at the edge of the water, guarding one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. This is Kasab Castle, and it's been standing tall since the Portuguese built it back in 1623. They wanted to control the Strait of Hormuz, but the Omanis weren't having it. They kicked the colonizers out in 1644 and turned the fort into a stronghold of their own. Walking inside feels like stepping straight into a history book, but way cooler. The courtyard is basically an outdoor museum for traditional boats. You'll see massive wooden ships that you won't find anywhere else today. One of the strangest things you'll find there is the Beit al-Kuful, or House of Locks. These were ancient windowless stone houses designed to keep precious goods like dates and grain safe from thieves in the brutal heat while the owners were away. The main circular tower in the middle is the heart of the castle, and it's packed with exhibits showing everything from old jewelry and weapons to a traditional Quran school and a kitchen from hundreds of years ago. If you're visiting Kasab, this is the perfect first stop to understand why this remote corner of Oman is so special. Just make sure to climb the walls for a killer view of the harbor. It's the same one soldiers were watching 400 years ago. While Telegraph Island is the famous history spot, Seaby is all about the underwater party. It's like jumping into a giant, natural aquarium. You'll be surrounded by hundreds of colorful fish like parrotfish and sergeant majors, and the coral reefs here are some of the healthiest in the region. If you're lucky, you might even spot a stingray gliding along the sandy bottom. The island itself is just a small, rugged rock, but the peace and quiet are incredible. Since it's so far out, it's usually much less crowded than the other spots. You can spend your time snorkeling, jumping off the deck of the boat, or just chilling with a cup of Omani tea while staring at the towering limestone cliffs. It's one of those rare places where you can truly unplug and just listen to the sound of the waves. Just don't forget your underwater camera, because this is a world you'll want to remember. If you're driving along the coast from the UAE into Oman, you'll hit this sleepy town called Buka, and trust me, you can't miss the fort. Buka Fort has been standing guard right at the edge of the sea since the 17th century. It was originally started by the Portuguese back in 1623, but the Omanis eventually took it over and made it their own. It's got this classic, tough look with deep orange-brown walls that pop against the limestone mountains behind it. The coolest thing about this place is its two main towers, and they aren't the same at all. You've got one massive round tower designed to handle heavy cannons and one square tower that was used as living quarters for the local leaders. Back in the day, there was even a ditch or a moat around it to keep invaders out, making it a real nightmare for anyone trying to sneak in. It got a major facelift in the 1990s, so it's looking sharp today. When you climb up the ramparts, you get a killer view of the harbor on one side and the jagged mountains on the other. Right next door is a beautiful mosque with a super unique minaret that looks great. It's way quieter than the main spots in Kasab, so you usually have the whole place to yourself. Hormuz doesn't just control the world's power through oil barrels and energy prices, it also has this weirdly powerful grip on our imagination. It's a high-stakes chess match between superpowers being played out on a landscape that looks like it belongs on another planet. Centuries from now, will we talk about Hormuz as just the trigger point where a global conflict almost started? Or will we see it for what it really is? A giant, eternal museum of the Earth's history, hiding some of the most unique cultures and landscapes found anywhere.